you're straightening crooked, what are you doing? Describe that in more modern language that makes sense to us. What do you do? I straighten crooked. What do I do?
Fix problems.
I fix problems. I solve problems, right? So I solve problems. I fix broken things. What is lacking cannot be numbered. This is a little weirder. What's lacking cannot be numbered. Who runs out of gas being unable to enumerate lacks? Who's really conscious of lack volume? Think about it. What would make you really aware of the fact that what's not here is overwhelming you? I don't have what I need. I can't even, what's that?
When you used to have it?
Well, what are you used to having? And, I miss it, but if I miss it, am I numbering it? I mean, there's counting going on. We're counting.
Does it have to do with harvesting in that era, like the harvest, the abundance?
That could be one thing we could count.
Money?
What's that?
Money!
Could be money. Did Jordan not only give you the answer, but say it really loud? Okay. I've already learned that. Jordan's going to throw her voice today. What's lacking can't be. So I'm looking for something and it's not there, and it frustrates me. So if it were there, what would I do with it? Grab it. I would grab it, and then what?
And use it.
Would I keep it? I would use it, or I would distribute it. This is reason about resource allocation. What is lacking cannot be. Well, we don't have a water problem in this world. We have a water distribution problem. We have a food problem in this country. We have a food distribution problem. What's lacking cannot be numbered. I am so overwhelmed by what is not currently available that deserves to be. It's making me freaking crazy. So the first person's pursuing a life of problem solving. The second person is pursuing a life of effective resource allocation so that we're not running around with lacks, we're running around with margins of inventory for things where they should be, because things aren't where they should be, they're missing, we're misallocating, and it didn't work, and so I decided I deserve to be despairing. So those are the first two things we identify. So what we're going to do is I'm going to assign each of you to be working on one of these passages, and your job is to do to that passage what we just did to this one. What's the complaint, and what was the thing they were pursuing that failed and caused them to be despairing? Make sense? Yeah. It seems a little weird, but once you get, okay, there's a whining complaint in every one of these things. What was the whining about? What was it they wanted that didn't happen? Name that. In this case, I wanted to solve enough problems. I wanted to allocate the resources effectively. Didn't work for me. So the pursuit of objective were those two things. So now there are 7 more of these. Let's do this in 2s or 3s. We're going to try to debrief out all 8 of these. And theoretically, probably 2 or 3 groups at least have worked on each of the remaining 7. So we got 8 passages we're looking at. The first one, the failed objectives are problem solving and resource allocation. By the way, it doesn't actually matter. These are in order from the book, but they're all over the book. So anybody want to volunteer one? Like, oh yeah, we got a good answer. Okay, then we'll pick on you. Yeah, which one are you working on?
Number 2.
Number 2, so read it for us so we know what we're talking about.
All right. I made great works. I built houses and planted vineyards for myself. I made myself gardens and parks and planted in them all kinds of fruit trees. I made myself pools from which to water the forest of growing trees. I bought male and female slaves and had slaves who were born in my house. Then I considered all that my hands had done and the toil I had spent doing it, and behold, all was vanity, and a striving after wind. There was nothing to be gained under the sun.
Well, let's just hear it for the moth-worthy reading of that passage. Okay, open mic night. Okay. Now, Lael, you get so ladies, you guys work together. Is that for you? Okay, you just do. Okay, so let me. Your name is.
Lori.
So Lori, so what's the point out of this passage that Lael just read? So
What we discussed about was what he was, I guess, going after, or like was trying to achieve was.
Right.
We wrote down like prosperity, beauty, having plenty, and happiness.
Okay.
But we thought what he was lacking was, I don't know if this is like a good answer, but what we thought was the community was what he was lacking, because if you read the verses, it really emphasizes that he did this for myself, and like I made myself this. I made this for myself. So what we thought was, like the people and the community, yeah, he had slaves, but that wasn't like his.
So what does he want?
So one of the things, so could you say, like, does he later on talk about pursuing community as an end in itself? Because,
Okay, let me just stop you guys right here. But as I pointed out, because I was working yesterday at UCSB, I want to be very clear. I'm trying to be helpful, but I'm not nice. So normally, a nice teacher kind of goes, I just really see where guys are going, I really appreciate this. No, you're wrong. Okay, you're just wrong. So if you're wrong, I'll just tell you it saves time. There's no conversation. All you're doing is eisegesis. Thank you for volunteering to be the example. You really want this person to have a better community. You've decided his problem is community, and you're just trying to fix it for him. But he's not talking about this at all. And the assignment is, what was this person pursuing that didn't work? Not why doesn't it work? Like, what could you do differently that would fix it? That's not the assignment. The assignment is, he went for something, he didn't get it, he decided life sucked. What was he going for?
prosperity, beauty, happiness.
Okay, so I heard you say achieve. He's trying to achieve near the list of prosperity, beauty. Now, happiness is an outcome, but the thing he was actually going after, right? You talked about slaves and construction. So would it be fair to say that what he's really doing, the objective he's pursuing, is in fact achievement? These are all forms of getting stuff done. They're all forms of production. Life is about producing. I have a whole bunch of stuff that I made and bought, and then I'm going to be happy. But I wasn't. Okay? So, now, being very tempted to try to solve his problem and figure out what's wrong with him, which is a really nice Christian thing to do, is lovely, but not the assignment. Okay, so watch out for that. I'm just going to pick on them. So that's number 2. So who worked on 3? Who worked on 3? Okay, read it for us and give us some ideas about what's going on there.
I hated all my toil in which I had toiled under the sun, seeing that I must leave it to the man who will come after me. And who knows whether he will be a wise man or a fool. Yet he will be master of all for which I toiled and used my wisdom under the sun.
Okay, so what does this person want?
He wants to be able to hang on to what he's worked for, but it's going to go to someone else, and he has no idea whether that person will be as good at managing it as he was.
Okay, so you're saying too, so he wants to hang on to it, but he doesn't know who's going to get it.
Yeah.
Okay, so where in the passage does it tell you that he wants to keep it?
Because he says, I must leave it to the man who will come after me. And he seems to be dissatisfied with that. And then that follows up with, who knows whether he will be wise or a fool.
Well, if something is irretrievably true, I have no choice but to leave it. Do I have to be unhappy about that?
Can you clarify what you're saying?
Sure. Okay, I must eat or I will die. So clearly, I do not wish to eat. Because I must. And if I must, I know I don't want to. So all things that are required are disliked. Is that correct?
No.
No, but that's what you just said. He says, I must, therefore you know he doesn't want to.
He says he
Do you
hated
know
it
he doesn't want to leave it?
because he says, I hated all my toil, seeing that I must leave it.
Seeing that and it's the leaving that he's hating.
Yes.
No. Okay? What do you think?
I don't know.
So, girl, again, and your name is?
Nathan.
Nathan. Again, I'm picking on Nathan. But we're not reading this illegitimately, but we're actually trying too hard. Learning how to just listen to the passage, period, full stop, is incredibly difficult. It's really a skill to clear your mind of all that stuff you know about psychology and humanity and Christian intention and God's dream for the world. Like, cut it out. Just read the freaking passage. I hated all my toil in which I had toiled under the sun. Okay, so you ended up really upset, seeing that I must leave it to the man who will come after me, and who knows whether he will be a wise man or a fool. Yet he will be master of all for which I toiled and used my wisdom under the sun. So in the passage itself, what are we learning about what seems to be getting his attention? What are the issues he's wrestling with?
He doesn't get to choose who.
So choosing who gets it is clearly on his mind. Now, it might actually be concurrently true that he wishes he could keep it too. Is there anything in the passage explicitly stating that I hate the fact that I have to give it up at all? Not necessarily. It could be true, but we don't know. So we can say, I think, with some confidence as exegeters, that he's upset about whoever gets it is something I don't have any influence on. And he might not even like to give it away at all. But at least we got the latter to work with. So let's focus on that. So, I don't know who this guy is, and he will be a master. So what is that, if that's what the issue is, if we can name that part of the issue, what do you guys think is on his mind? What's bugging him? Got an idea? So I know, let's say the guy is, I know I can't keep it forever. I'm going to die. I accept my finitude. But I'm really ticked off about the fact that the one who comes after me, I don't know if it's a dolt or a good guy, and yet this person over whom I have no control whatsoever, he's in charge. That's bugging me. What's that? He's a control freak. He would like to control. Now, by the way, is there a noble reason for his control, we might argue? Is there an inference we can take about the nature of the control and the legitimacy of what control might be on his mind? What does it sound like he is hoping his control would permit? It's right there. Notice he does not say, who knows whether he will be rich or poor? He does not say, who knows whether he will be tall or short? Who knows whether he will be incredibly popular or like a jerk? He says, no, who knows whether he will be wise or a fool? The thing on his mind about the nature of the person, the thing about which he wishes he had some control, the passage implies to us, is what? Wisdom or foolishness. Which might imply, what is it about this thing that he's going to have to leave that he cares about? The legacy. So I would like my legacy. Is that Jordan? So that he wants some control of his legacy. He wants to play the long game. I'm trying to create a legacy, and I'd like to be able to control it even in my absence. And I notice I can't. Okay. So I think it's probably a fair guess that he doesn't want to let it go. But the passage doesn't actually explicitly inform us that letting it go itself is the problem. It's how they're asking me to let it go. And that's just making me so crazy that I actually hate all my toil. I worked really hard to create this thing that I know I have to leave. And the fact that I can't control its future is so heartbreaking to me, I now actually hate this good thing. That's how committed to that point of view I am. And I can't have what I've decided I must have or my life doesn't work, so my life doesn't work. I've not chosen to be in despair. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Okay? And it happens 8 times here. We're getting the drift of this? It takes a while. By the way, still a round of golf clap. Thank you for Lyle and just these guys for being the first ones up and getting beat up by Dale. Because speaker beat me up and no, again, no, this is hard. This is hard. All right, lots of volunteers now, I'm sure. Who would like to try number 4? Go for it.
So, it sounds like he wants...
Read it for us.
Sorry.
Not everybody read it.
I apologize.
That's quite all right.
This also is vanity. So I turned about and gave my heart up to despair over all the toil of my labors under the sun. Because sometimes a man who has toiled with wisdom and knowledge and skill must leave all to be enjoyed by a man who did not toil for it. This also is vanity and great evil.
Which sounds really similar to number 3, doesn't it? But it's
certainly
not the same. What's going on here?
From our understanding,
Yep.
he wants wisdom.
He wants wisdom, okay.
It says he's toiled with wisdom and knowledge and skill.
Right?
He wants to use it.
And he actually wants to use it because then the word of enjoyment comes up. So it's being enjoyed by a man who did not work for it.
Okay, so he's worked for it, he's labored hard, thoughtfully, he's actually, and we can perhaps infer that he's enjoyed it. And what's he upset about? What's the fly in the soup? What's the thorn in my salad?
That somebody didn't work for it.
Didn't work for it.
Yes.
Gets to have it.
So what's the problem there?
Like,
Earning.
Didn't earn it.
Wasn't earned.
So it's
That's
not,
not deserved.
it's undeserved, it's not, it's unjust,
Unfair.
it's not fair.
Yeah.
So what I wanted, I'm willing to accept the finitude and love it. So I wanted, life or legacy to be deserved or fair. He didn't work for it, it's not fair. Right? So again, I wanted to solve problems, I wanted to allocate resources, I wanted to build and make and achieve things and accumulate outcomes. I was trying to control a worthy legacy. I just wanted it to come out fair. So far, so good. Except we're 0 for 4 and everybody says it sucks. Actually 0 for 5, and number 1 has 2 in it. Who's got number 4? 5. Number 5. So good work. Thank you. Who's got number 5? All right, Jordan. Jump in there, read us a passage, and let's get some answers.
Then I saw that all toil and all skill and work come from a man's envy of his neighbor. This also is vanity and a striving after wind.
Well, okay, really short one. So, but nonetheless, what's going on here?
From this, I saw that he wants success, but he's left unsatisfied because he keeps comparing himself to others.
Okay, so, in fact, he says this really, actually, horribly disparaging thing about humankind. I've seen that all skill and work come from a man's envy of his neighbor. That's quite an indictment. So people who live that way, you're saying that this person wants to succeed, but he's not feeling very good about that because he keeps thinking about his neighbor all the time, right? Because he's comparing himself. So what am I actually pursuing if my success is comparison-based?
Approval?
Prestige, because I, compared to you, did what? I'm better. I won. One-upmanship. I'm competing with you, right? And after we competed, what did I do? I won. Right? So just having good stuff isn't really what I want. I just want to be better than you. I don't actually really care where we go as long as I get there first. So would it be fair to say that what the complaint is here, what I was doing is life was about competition. Life is a competition. Life is designed, the world is divided into really only 2 kinds of people. We got winners and losers, and it's all about being a winner. Heard that recently? Yeah, it's in the White House. I mean, regardless of where you stand in politics, that is literally our current president's worldview. So that's an orientation, and he didn't get to win, necessarily every single time, and he was completely preoccupied with winning, and that didn't work out for him. How about number 6?
We're frightened back here, but we're going to give it a go.
Okay.
Again, I saw vanity under the sun. A person who has no one, either son or brother, yet there is no end to all his toil, and his eyes are never satisfied with riches, so that he never asks, for whom am I toiling and depriving myself of pleasure? This also is vanity and an unhappy business.
I will let you guys off the hook by starting with saying this one is the most popular one to get wrong. But you should have a disproportionate advantage because you have an economist on your team. That is a huge advantage. So, nonetheless, with that said, ladies and gentlemen, what do you think? What's this person going for? What'd you come up with?
He was going for relational purpose, we thought.
You fell for it. Okay. I'm going to get such a rep after tonight. I'm sorry. Maybe it's me.
Well,
guys.
at least you're even-handed.
All right. Let's walk through it. Yeah. Because clearly there's all this talk about these people. Right. There's no people in his life. It's not working well.
He's just doing it for him, and it's not satisfying, is what he says.
Oh, you're very close. He's just doing it for him. What is the it he is doing for him?
All his toil.
Work.
For the riches.
Yeah.
Ding, 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 ding. Okay. Let's just read the passage again. Okay, this is actually an example. We're just working on exegesis tonight. The actual message of the passage is secondary. Again, I saw vanity under the sun. Okay, one more time. We found this person who's decided life sucks. There's this person. There's a really interesting person I have noticed. Again, Kohelet speaks about himself and other people he watches. This is one of the people he watched. There's this person. This guy, he's got nobody. He doesn't have a son. He doesn't have a brother. And yet, I noticed there's no people in his life, and still he works Constantly. There is no end to his toil. And his eyes are never satisfied with what? With riches, she points out. You are? Jen. Okay, so as Jen knows. And so so what this guy that has no people around him and is working his cheeks off, is focused on is the money. In fact, his eyes are so never satisfied so that he never asks. I noticed this guy never even thinks about what completely distracted you. For whom am I toiling and depriving myself of pleasure? This also is vanity and an unhappy business. And notice, this person's never there are no people around him. He's not thinking about people. He never talks about people. He's got all this work. He's working so hard he's never done. He always wants more riches. And I can't for the life of me figure out why. He's not doing it for himself because all he does is work. He's not doing it for a son or brother. He hasn't got one. He doesn't even talk about people. There's no one he's doing this for. What is it with this guy? There's only one thing he wants. What does he want? Yeah, and a particular attribute of riches. How much does he want? More. He wants more. By the way, there's a really cool play about this guy. You watch it every Christmas. Who is this? It's Scrooge. Now let me point out the exegetical trap here. He has no son or brother. Oh, poor guy. For whom am I toiling and deprived? Oh, see, yeah, absolutely. It's all about the relationship stuff. No, the relational content in this tiny little passage, it's not about relationships. It's about, I am astonished at this incredibly aberrant behavior that I can make no sense of. In fact, the only idea I can imagine that would rationalize this guy's life is he's working really hard. He came across the border as an illegal alien. He's working 80 hours a week and sending the money home to his parents. Oh, now I get him. Now I get him. He makes sense to me. But he's not doing that. The only thing I can see in this person is endless work and a pile of riches that are never big enough. That's all I know about him. And all my imaginations about what might rationalize him, the most obvious one being relationships, are completely failed. So what I'll suggest from an exegetical point of view is, I guess we're studying Bible study, is that we are so relationally oriented. You are so, most of us, convinced that love is what makes the world go around, and relationships are really positive. And hey, when they bring the seniors back and talk about how great Westmont is during new student orientation, right? They'll go, no, it's really about the relationships. It was valuable. I got an education. That was wonderful. I got a networking. That was fabulous. And Paul really helped me. And that was, but it's really my friends, my lifelong friends. That's what really matters. By the way, that's true. One of my lifelong friends is right there, and he's much more valuable than my master's degree. So we're really biased that way. You have a huge relational bias, and you just fell for your point of view. Right? It's just about the money. This guy's really simple. Money for its own sake. Number 7.
Okay.
I can do this! She's just a sophomore. Be kind to her, okay?
As he came from his mother's womb, he shall go again, naked as he came, and shall take nothing for his toil, which he may carry away in his hand. This also is a grievous evil. Just as he came, so shall he go.
Yep.
And what gain has he that he toiled for the wind, and spent all his days in darkness and grief, in much vexation and sickness and resentment?
Okay. So what's going on with this poor guy? What do you guys think?
He wants relaxed.
Yeah.
He was relaxed.
He wants.
He wants
really
to.
wants.
He wants to relax. Ah. What in the passage tells you that he doesn't want to work so hard?
I would say that he, basically what he's complaining about here is the fact that it's kind of dumb that we enter this world with nothing, and we work really hard, and then we exit this world,
With
and
nothing.
again we still have nothing.
Right.
So he's basically saying that all this toil that he did during his life, pointless.
Right.
So he.
And full stop right there. And then you're guessing what he really wanted to do is relax. Why do I have to work so hard if I get nothing for it? That's an interpretive outcome. It's just the thing that's really ticking him off in the passage. As he came, so he, this is, you can't take it with you. This is the you can't take it with you passage. There's no trailers. You ever seen a U-Haul behind a hearse? You just don't see that very much. There's, he does all this work, and he doesn't get to take anything with him. Now, he may not have liked the work. He may thought, well, gee, if I can't take it with me, I think I'd like to relax. Now, that's actually, well, gee, if you could, if you knew up front you didn't have to take, you couldn't take it with you, what would you like instead? If you want to start renegotiating with this guy, that's a different outcome. We're just trying to understand, why is this life so unhappy? This life is so unhappy because this guy wanted to take it with him and he couldn't.
Wait, so what would you say his objective was?
Okay. Naked he came, and shall take nothing for his toil. What did he get for all that work? This passage assumes there's only one legitimate answer. Hanging on to the product of my labor permanently. By the way, we know lots of other answers. He shall take nothing for his toil, which he may carry away in his hand. What did he get? He got to be alive and collaborate with other human beings. He got to see things happen in the real world. He got to encounter beauty and agency and do things together in a social context. He actually got to change people's lives and feed them and see them become their real selves. He got to fulfill his skill utilization of the world and become his adult self. He got all kinds of fabulous stuff, but no, he only wants to carry it away in his hand. You don't have something in my hand, my life sucks. And my hands are empty, so my life sucks. Game over. Follow me? Okay, so I think what this guy's looking for is permanence. Or frankly, you could just argue what he's really asking for is immortality, and he measures immortality in, I get to take the stuff with me. And the pharaohs tried to. They like, can I put the toys in the sarcophagus so he can play with them later? Kill the dogs and send them along too. Literally. Now let's do number 8 real quickly. So number 8, again, really short. I don't know who did this. All the toil of man is for his mouth, yet his appetite is not satisfied. It's almost like a cone. Who worked on that? Who's got an idea about what that's about? All the toil of man is for his mouth, yet his appetite is not satisfied. It doesn't even say the life sucks thing, it just put a clue this is a totally unsatisfied person. What's happening here? Go ahead.
So what we talked about was toiling for material satisfaction and the tangible. So the idea that you're toiling for your mouth, you have to eat, but that satisfaction of eating is temporary. So if you're always focused on the material and your immediate satisfaction, it doesn't last.
Okay. So the endless cycle of the never permanently satiated appetite is what's frustrating me. It's lather, rinse, find, repeat. Now you're ticking me off. Okay, so so it's the repeat part that's making them crazy. Actually, in years I've actually never heard that particular interpretation. I think that's a viable interpretation. So it's the repetitiveness of having to keep eating is making them crazy. Seems kind of pointless, right? The old phrase, the laundry is never done. I hate doing laundry because it's never done. You stand butt naked in the laundry room having just folded the laundry, and the wait a minute is like done for like a minute. As soon as you get dressed, boom, you're done. But let's go a little further with this. I think we might be able to get a little more of this. So this is an interesting one. All the toil of man is for his mouth, yet his appetite is not satisfied. Now, is that in fact technically true?
I mean, yes, it's technically true. You get hungry after you eat, but I don't think he's referring to food here. I think he's referring to meaning. He is working really hard. He's earning money. He's building, parks, whatever. And he's hoping something will make him satisfied. But the more he does it, the more he realizes, this is really filling this hole in my heart that I have.
Okay.
There has to be something better out there. He's looking for deeper meaning.
Okay. That may very well be true. Point me into the passage where meaning comes up.
I can.
So you might be exactly right, and it's completely speculative. There is nothing in this passage that talks about meaning. May be absolutely true, but it's not here. I'm not saying it's wrong, it's just not here. Now, let's get real simple. Is it true your appetite is insatiable? No, your appetite can be satisfied, right? If in fact what we're talking about, so, and how does your appetite get satisfied? What do you experience?
By eating.
By eating, and then you are full, right? So when you're full, you're no longer hungry. But this guy is always hungry. Let's say this guy is always hungry. Is there such a thing? Is anybody ever always hungry? Is there a different kind of an appetite? By the way, what is he toiling for? His mouth. It does not say all the toil of man is for his stomach. It says all the toil of man is for his mouth. Is mouth hungry different than stomach hungry? How is mouth hungry different from stomach hungry?
Glory.
Glory. Okay, would have lost that bet. Keep going. Mouth hungry is different from stomach hungry because of glory.
Sorry, that was, so, like, is it because he wants to have good things for him to say about himself? That might be.
Anything in here about, so the mouth has speech or something? Okay, that's a possibility. Not sure we have to work that hard.
Chewing?
Chewing.
Flavor.
Flavor. Is eating the same as feeding? No. Anybody ever eat too much? Anybody ever eat to regret? Maybe friends of yours. Why do we eat to the point of regret? Because it tastes so good. Mouth hungry is about eating. Stomach hungry is about feeding. If I don't want to be fed, I just want to eat, that's different. Now, if I was a rich Roman, by the way, I might have a room in my house that none of you do because I think this stuff's really cool. I got another kind of a room you've never seen before. You know what it's called? Huh?
You gotta throw up.
I'm going to throw up in it. We call it the vomitorium. I'm a rich person, rich people now, have a pool and a billiard room and that kind of stuff. A rich Roman has a vomitorium because you have all your friends over to feast. We have a great big dinner party. We love this. We love eating it. But then there's this really sucky thing called getting full. We have a solution for that. You go to the vomitorium, stick your finger down your throat, you throw up, come back, do it again. Fill up, throw up, come back and do it again. This is great. We can eat as much as we want. We're no longer limited by the capacity of our stomachs. We are not eating for feeding. We are eating for eating's sake. So this guy, I would argue, all the toil of man is for his mouth. So the person who's just feeding his mouth, and mouth only all the time, is eating for its own sake. We call that consumption. I'm eating to consume. Who's ever heard of shopping therapy? What is okay, if you're laughing, you've heard it. So what is shopping? How do shopping therapists apply the therapy? What does it mean to do shopping therapy? I'm going to make myself feel better by shopping. I'm going to apply shopping therapy to my mood. I'm going to improve my mood by shopping. How does it work? Ever heard of it? Very common. So, so you go buy stuff, right?
Yeah.
And then you come home, and then what do?
I don't need all these things.
No.
Like, you just kind of realize, like, oh, well, I don't need, first of all, I don't need any of this stuff, and then second of all, don't feel much better.
And then what do you do with the stuff? What's that?
It either sits there or you get rid of it.
And how do you get rid of it, as a rule? I mean, there's people who seriously do shopping therapy. This is very commonly done.
Return it?
Return it.
Yeah.
I don't want to own it. I just want to buy it. So I go to the shopping mall, I buy a bunch of stuff, I bring it, feel great, I never try it on, I don't care, I wait another couple of days to take it back. Then do it again. Because buying is so much fun. I love to shop. It's just shopping. That's consuming, not owning, consuming, not feeding. Okay, so now, we just have a list here. And of course, this is a really, really, really old book in the Old Testament, written by a really old dead guy, so I'm sure this is really irrelevant stuff. Apparently he lived with people who, oddly enough, thought that a way to live their life was, I'm going to live my life and focus on problem solving, resource allocation, achievement, production. I'm going to control the future of my legacy. I want to live a life of fairness and deservedness. I'm going to compete. It's all about the money. I'd like immortality and some permanence, and I'm really into consumption. Once again, an incredibly irrelevant biblical list. Does this look at all like people in society we see today? Are these popular ways to live today? These are incredibly popular ways to live today. And according to this author, you don't have to buy this author's point of view, but we're just exegetically looking at this author's point of view, he would say, I've seen lots of people who organize their lives around these things, and they all come out really badly. despairingly badly. Turn the page over, let's have another point of view. Now, on the flip side, it's much easier. There's only one extraction. We can all do it at the same time, which is, this is another point of view. What do you get out of this one? So the grand conclusion of Ecclesiastes, the way I put it is, he says a pretty similar thing over and over and over again. They're not identical, they're complementary, but there's a couple of big themes consistently throughout this entire page. So the question is, scan that over, read most of those passages, and let's discuss what's going on in these passages that's different than all of these. After you look them over, you're going to kind of get the drift of the big message there, and try to identify, if you can, this sounds very different, right? So it sounds very different. Can you identify what the keys are? Are there key elements that seem to be the cause or the root of the distinction between the way the author is talking here and the way the author talked in all these passages? What are the differences? What do you notice that's different here from here? Hey, let me interrupt you. We'll just wrap this thing up. First of all, does this sound different? Does this sound different? How does it sound different? So what's different here? How does this sound different?
It's about finding joy in the work that you do, no matter how difficult.
Yeah, so I mean, all kinds of different works, and there's a lot of joy going on, right? So there's despairing before, and now it's joyful, right?
And it's a gift from God.
There's a gift. Keep going.
Yeah, I'm saying one is a posture of receiving versus
Okay.
posture of pursuing.
So we got joy, we got receive. Tim, you said gift. What else do we notice that's different? Okay, done.
Well, he talks about God.
Talks about God,
I mean,
who is actually noticeably absent over here now that I think about it. Right? Okay.
Talks about enjoyment.
Talks about enjoyment.
He's presenting it as a choice.
There's a choice to be made here.
These things are inherently good.
There are good things going on.
He seems to be grateful.
Seems to be grateful. Yeah, I think if first of all, I mean, if you just kind of take that piece of paper and go A, B, A, B. Now keep in mind, if you look at the passage references, this little refrain that repeats in a variety of interesting ways, that those phrases are laced throughout the book, as are these complaints. They're all over each other. They're back to back. Like he says one of these, then he says one of these, then he says one of these, then he says one of these. No wonder we find the book. This guy's clearly bipolar. You know, we got manic depressive. You know, I know what's happening. He's off his meds. Okay, that's what's going on. I mean, it just makes us crazy. Because it really is poetic literature. And I think it's very easy because you're actually accustomed to again, a Greek philosopher's hedonistic position of compromise, that, well, eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we may die. It sort of sounds like the consolation prize. That's what he may sound like. I don't think it's that way at all, actually. And I think it's true, you guys did a good job of capturing the key things. I think the G words are kind of the critical points. There is God, there's the gift, and there is gratefulness. And it's good. None of that G stuff shows up on the front side. It's all about the G's. And in particular, you know, we're supposed to, and what kind, how is this person living differently than this person? So, yeah, so how is this person living differently than this person? What's going on?
They are rejoicing in the work that they do.
They're what?
They are rejoicing in the work that they do.
Yeah, but and what frees them to do that in a way that these people all work real hard too? What's the secret?
One's God-centered.
One's God-centered.
The other is self-centered.
The other is self-centered. So let's kind of drill into this a little bit and see how that actually works. Maybe we can unpack this. There are lots of ways that the grand conclusion is phrased. My personal favorite is, behold, what I have seen to be good and fitting. See, that's not, well, he lost the lightning round, Johnny. What do you have? Well, what you have, what's good and fitting is a copy of a home game and a certificate for, a cup of coffee at Starbucks. So it sounds like the consolation prize, but I don't think it means that. What I have seen, so I've seen a lot of stuff that doesn't work. Well, let me tell you what I've seen that really does work. To be good and to fitting is to eat and drink, this is chapter 5. Find enjoyment in all the toil with which one toils under the sun, the few days of one's life which God has given them, for this is his life. This is simply the way it is. We're all finite. Nobody's getting out of this thing alive. And know that you can't take it with you. Everyone also to whom God has given wealth and possessions and the power to enjoy them and to accept his or her lot and find enjoyment in their toil, this is the gift of God. For they will not much remember the length of their days because God kept them occupied with joy in their hearts. Instead of pluralizing just to overcome that unfortunate gender bias that the author actually had. So that's really amazing. Everyone to whom God has given wealth and possessions, that would be you, and the power to enjoy them, we hope that would be you, and to accept his lot, you've got to live in reality, including all that finitude, and find enjoyment having done all those acceptances. If you string all those little reality choices together, that's the gift of God. For he will not much remember the days of his life because God keeps him occupied with joy in his heart, or in another translation, preoccupied with joy in his heart. So I suddenly see this cartoon image. You know, here's this person, this woman walking down the street, and suddenly, and she turns and goes, "What? Who's there? It's death. It's death, Olive. I've come. Why? It's time, honey. What time is it, Death? It's 88, honey. You're 88 years old. We have to go now. You're done." No way. What? I'm 88? Yeah. I thought I was 27. I was just so preoccupied with joy, I did not notice the time go by. Really? It's 88? Well, okay, let's go. That's what this says. Will not much remember the days of his or her life because God keeps them occupied with joy. I literally met this woman, and her name is Olive. I'm at the church picnic. I'm an elder at the time. You know, we're at the park and with the reserved tables and this kind of stuff, and I'm trying to make sure people are okay. I'm kind of the sheepdog, you know. And over on a table that's not really one of ours, I see this old woman. I mean, this really little, tiny, thin, like see-through woman, you know. Wispy red hair, you know, sitting very placidly by herself. And I kind of goes, I wonder where is it? So I want to make sure I don't want to lose one on my watch. So I go around and check. It says, "Well, hello, dear. My name is Olive. Oh, great. Are you with the church?" "Oh, yes, I am." To make a long story short, I said, so well, who are you with? She said, "Well, you know, well, my daughter, you know, over there is Anne, and isn't he wonderful?" Who? Jesus, isn't he wonderful? Yes, he is. We were talking about your daughter. Where's your daughter? "Oh, that's right. She's over there. And those are her kids, you know, and because we know we've been coming to the church for 65 years, and I can't wait to see him. Can you? God, I can't wait to see him. Know all about it. I can't wait to see him. What do you think you're going to see?" "Oh, it's going to be first." And so, I mean, every 10, 15 seconds, boom, she's back with one foot in heaven. I made up stuff to talk with her about for 45 minutes. Because I'm sitting with an angel in training. I mean, this woman, and she died about 3 months later, she was amazing. I mean, the love of God, her astonishment at how grateful she deserved to be by being able to be aware of the fact that she'd been loved of God and used of God in the world, so overwhelmed her, it completely flooded her consciousness about every 25 seconds. I thought, now this is what I call dementia. This is really what going crazy is all about. You know, you are really a mature, refined, enlightened being. So you can become this person. And I will make the case that the big message of Ecclesiastes is that there's really a crucial choice to be made. You get to pick essentially one of two ways to live. Because if I really study this whole list, these all share one thing in common. That. Production. They're all outcomes. These lives were hoping to be validated, to be legitimized, to be worthwhile because of the outcomes they were pursuing. If I could solve enough problems, if I could allocate the resources, if I could achieve enough, if I could control that legacy, if I could just make it be fair, if I could hang on to it and keep it in my hands, if I could just eat it all, if I could make enough, if I won, then it's okay. If then. So, the line would be, choice A, I'm okay because of what got done today. I often walk through the front door of my house after coming home from high school, and my mother would shout out, "Hi, honey, welcome home. What'd you do for your country today?" I took a test in math and solved slavery. I mean, I never really quite understood the question. Or choice B, because I am okay, i.e. loved of God, I get to go and play. I.e., what I mean by that, sort of euphemistically, is if life is about receiving the gift of life from God and living that good thing out gratefully, day in and day out, with all of its constraint and finitude, what I can do, what I can see, is I can live gratefully into actively receiving this gift that God gives me every single day, over and again, over and again, over and again. And then, if I do that really well, if I become a master of that skill, it will completely preoccupy me, and joy will be the footnote of my life. Or, which by the way says, because God has already approved of what you do, says the message. I'm already okay, and you know you're okay because you've been saved by the blood of Jesus. This is just a claim on the nature of God's love for us. You're post-Pentecost people. So, because I am loved, because God has already approved of what I do and said, all I'm asking you to do is live like a human being in a reasonable manner, then you get to go and play. Because if I'm going to receive the gift of God and enjoy that life gratefully by noticing its goodness, what will I spend my time doing? Sitting on the couch going, this is so great, this is so great, this is so great. No, Kate says. What do the people who do grateful God gift reception well do? They solve problems, allocate resources, achieve things, attempt to produce things that have long-term value, fight for fairness, compete as appropriately to have iron sharpen iron, not just make people into losers, make enough money but not for its own sake. That immortality is an eternal, a godly thing, not a me thing, and consume enough to enjoy it and then stop. They do all this stuff. Silent movies often look the same, except that these people are cheerful and these people are killing themselves. It's a cart horse issue. God invites us to go out and get on the field and engage the human adventure and do all this stuff as an expression of your belovedness. Oh my God, God loves me. God may give me a life. God actually allows me to participate in the human adventure. Let me on the field course. Let me on the field, please, because the life in me cannot but get out. It must leave me into the world as glorify God and enjoy Him forever. That's what the Westminster Catechism is all about. Now the difference is, and as Christians we care about these things. By the way, I have to fight to keep this horse in front of that cart every single day. Because let's say you start caring about the Word. I spent 10 years building the Life Design Lab at Stanford. It's the first thing of its kind in higher education in 3 centuries. It matters to me. I'm not teaching this year because I'm letting it go before I die. So Kathy Davies, my managing director, wrote me a note last night and said, I will not pretend I don't envy you guys teaching the first day of class today, but go for it. I'm really thrilled. We've got a great team. Do good work. And Kathy writes back, bless her heart. Thanks, Dave. We really care about you. Get the word out there. Go care for the people at UCSB and Westmont. We got your baby. We'll take care of it. Don't worry. Burst into tears. Because damn it, it's mine. I built this thing. I really care. Don't you dare drop this thing. It's mine. I spent 10 years building it after thinking about it for 35. I've been working on this longer than you've been breathing. And it's not mine. So I steal God's gift back all the time. I write my name on the owner slip. I do it all the time. I do it all the time. Learning how to care incredibly deeply about something without taking it over is hard. You know, I want to leave nothing on the field. I want to be all in, right? I want to be all in for Jesus. And you're all in, and then you take it from Jesus. But you got to, I think we're invited to learn how to be all in and not steal it. Because the joy is how you're doing it. So you got to develop this. You got to develop this Christian life. I mean, even Jesus stands at the wall and says, "Oh, Jerusalem, had only you known of the time of your visitation," and he weeps. He wishes it had worked. He doesn't stand there and go, "Hey, whatever. It doesn't really matter how the ministry went because I'm rising in a couple of days." That's not the story. He's pretty vested in this thing he's been trying. He's been trying to get across. Hey, Jerusalem, hey, Israel, you're supposed to be the purveyor of God's gift to all the world, not the recipient of God's gift to the world. You got it wrong. I'm here to invite you into your real identity. You have the incredibly cool calling to be the giver of God's truth to the world, not the keeper of it. I wish you'd heard me. But not my will, but thine be done. So this challenge, God's definition of success is to live like this and to be sold out into that without losing track of what's what, I would say. It's incredibly hard. It's incredibly wonderful, by the way. And also, this is where you get a light yoke and an easy burden. Because you don't have to pull it off. You just have to do what you can while not forgetting who you are. And if you want to be a winsome witness for Christ in the world, these are much more winsome people than really burdened, religiously obligated people who are mad at themselves because they didn't pull it off. We in ordained language beat the crap out of ourselves and one another. And turn these gifts back into laws. So it's, I could go on and on about the paradox of this challenge. It's an incredibly challenging thing. Christianity is not for sissies. This is a really tough, wonderful thing you get to do. I mean, I can't think of a better deal. It's the best deal in town, and it's an incredibly hard thing to do. Well, except of course it's easy, it's simple, but you got to renew it every single day. If Jesus had to get up early and pray, then we probably do too. If he was at the edge of losing it on any given day, cut yourself some slack. Anyway, so it's 8, so much for the Q&A. You are so much better at exegesis than you were an hour ago. So, anyway, so is this helpful? Yeah. And is this tension something that makes sense to us? But you got to keep it in front of you. You got to keep it in front. And you should be absolutely investing as much time in learning how to be a grateful gift recipient, organically, naturally, as an attribute of your personality. I mean, getting good, becoming olive. I mean, I really want to be olive when I grow up. I really, really do. That when I start losing it, I'm pretty sure olive was fading away in front of me. I want to say see-through, I'm not kidding. I mean, you get that really old and, all the fast gone later after eating, you can see bones, and she's like the visible woman, And I'm pretty sure the last thing you saw was the Holy Spirit's flame wavering in the air, and then in a puff of glory. You get to pick being that person, as opposed to lying in your deathbed, bitching and moaning and complaining because it didn't work. It's a very important choice that we're making. A very important choice. And what better place to start learning the habit of making that choice than when you're surrounded by so many people who love you and care for you and share your worldview and want to do this thing right. Just get the habit before you leave. You're going to be fine. Couldn't have picked a better place to do it. Lord, love these people. Correction, keep loving these people. Not like you stop. But remind them that it's true. Help them find the way to have a deep longing for what you want in the world that even breaks their heart, but does not tempt them to steal back from you the right to declare their lives worthwhile. That even like the other saints, if we don't see it all fulfilled, we can, with gratefulness, declare the glory of God, and in so doing, be that winsome witness for you in the world. Help us to be patient with ourselves and with you, that the world might know who sent us. Amen. Amen. Good to be with you. I was supposed to do a big Q&A thing, but there you go. I have no other appointments if you want to ask me questions later.
Thanks for coming, everybody. We're glad to host this and immensely thankful to Dave for his time. And if only he was more passionate about what he does.
I used to get upset, you know.
You are nice. That's all I have to say.